I'm going to start off with the screen that you've all come to love, the education dashboard. Keep in mind through this whole presentation that I'm logged in as me, and you do not have this icon right here, the super admin. So ignore that one. This is where I can go in and edit the ID number or things like that. And we don't give that to just everybody, because you can imagine the nightmares that would be. But you should have these. Now, you may not have certification, this icon, if you are not a teacher, okay? Because this is only going to be to get your certification, and I'll just click on that and show you what that looks like if you haven't seen that. So a teacher will click on that and come up with their certification, their certification report. Okay. Now the e-certification does have a bug. I'm not sure if it's related to changes that Rob is trying to work on to make right now, but we'll see if that is working down the road here. All right, I'm going to move my list out of the way. The first thing I would like to do actually is to welcome you to the session. And I hope this will be beneficial to you guys. That's all we want to do, is make things easier for you. And that's what is the bottom line here. The bottom line for the dashboard, for the user manager, for the data roll-up, student IDs, is to make people's lives easier, not to cause you more work. Okay. Yeah, when we're in the process of hiring, it would be nice to see teacher certifications from outside the union. That, I'll just tell you right now, that's not going to be an option. You're going to have to call that union, because we're not going to be opening up e-certification across the lines. That's one thing. We do believe in education without borders, but not necessarily certification knowledge, okay? Because that's just something that we can't let everybody into, and I'm sure you understand that. All right, so let me start here with an explanation of roles. So I'm going to click on the user manager, and I'm going to just use my role as an example because it will be a little easier. I don't care if you see my information. So the roles are here, and the kinds of roles that we have, I'm going to explain each one for you. Well, you know what division administrator would be. All right, the division director, these are all at the NAD level. The division would be Elaine Furrow or Carol Moore, okay, the administrative assistants there at the division. So we have the same kinds of roles at each level. All right, the next level would be the union director. The union director can see just the opening and closing reports when we're talking about data roll-up. They can see an education directory. They cannot see specific school information or specific student grades and information like that. Okay, but they can, union directors can come in to the user manager and manage those roles. They can come in here and they can edit an email address or create a role as well. Okay. Union associate director, the same kinds of things. Okay. And the union role can, well, we'll just do this. Let me log out as me, and I'll log in at my union role. So I can demo that. Security and safety is at the bottom line of all of these roles. And so since we're dealing with people's information, we have to be very, very careful with who can see what. Now, normally logged in at the union, you would only see the union that you are attached to. I play around with my role, so that's why I have different kinds, 2 different unions here. But a union administrative assistant would be able to come in here. They can export all those teachers. All right, they can click on the school and they can get the e-certification report. Now, it was giving an error. Yeah. So again, this is coming from e-certification and we're working on that. But if this had gone through for the real report, you would see a list of all the teachers in that conference and their certification, what do you want to call it? Well, status, okay? What certification they have, what endorsements they have. We are working on some things. I met with the union certification registrars last week, and it was very, very helpful. And we are working on the ability to click on this button at the conference level, okay, and also academy principals. And they would be able to get the status sheets, the individual status sheets at the conference level or for the school. All right, but that's in the works. That's not happening right now. All right, so we'll go back to our roles. Okay, just do it this way. And understand that the union can do all of those things within their jurisdiction. And then if I go down to the conference, I would be able to do the same kinds of things in the conference jurisdiction. And then the same thing at the school jurisdiction. So everything, again, is by jurisdictions. I think I better stay in my own role where I'm comfortable. All right. So the role is not necessarily the person's job. And that's really, really important to understand. Because if I chose the role of school registrar, all that really means is that that person has the ability, the access to do student ID numbers. That's all that does. Doesn't mean they're the registrar. So if you have a teacher in a school who the head teacher or the principal has said, I need Sally Joe to be the one to do school ID numbers, student ID numbers, you at the conference level need to go in and give them the school registrar role. All right, so that's just a little bit about roles. We'll cancel out of that. Another thing that we've been talking about this week is who gets a role. Oh, I guess I better go back to here. Anybody who wants to be able to see their certification needs to have a role. And you see that there's this role right here, non-NAD employee. The non-NAD employee role is specifically for teachers in self-supporting schools or teachers in public schools. Perhaps people that you have on a regular basis be a substitute teacher and they still have certification. Those people can be entered in, given an ID number, and then given the non-NAD employee role. They will come up in the conference because when you give that non-NAD employee a role, you also need to select an organization. So if I had chosen non-NAD role, I need to choose something here. And what we've asked you guys to do is to affiliate the person with the conference that they live in. All right, so then I would be, since I'm here and I live in Charlotte, I would say that I'm in the Carolina Conference. We are working on seeing if we can get a organization, say a conference category for the non-NAD teachers or overseas teachers, but at this point we don't have that. It does take programming money for that, is what it is. So we're just asking that you put them in the conference where they physically live. Okay. Another way to distinguish if a person needs to have a role or not, well, just to keep in mind that things play into the opening and closing report, and I'll talk about that more when I go into data roll-up. Okay, so that's a little explanation about the roles. Do I have any questions on that part before we move on? Okay. All right. The next thing I'd like to talk about are user manager responsibilities within the conference office. And actually it would play into the union office as well. The conference office is the manager of all of the educator ID numbers. And so what that means is when I log in here and say I'm logging in as New York Conference, if I'm at the New York Conference office, I need to make sure that all my teachers that are in there, that are in the conference, have an ID number. If I get a new teacher, the first thing I would do would be to look them up. I better use a different cat. I would need to look them up, and if they don't show up in the database, and you can see that they don't, then your responsibility is to make them a new account. Okay, so you would fill in all this information, choose their role, their organization, their start date, and if you know that that individual already has an ID number, then you would, when you're done creating this account, you would email me and let me know that I need to edit the ID number. Because remember, when you create an ID account, it generates a brand new ID number. You can't enter the ID number yourself. That has to be edited by me. So say you have a person coming to your conference, you need to look them up first and see if they're in the database. If they are, then they would come up. Let me just go back there and I'll choose Jerry. Say I'd search for him. He's going to be a new teacher in my conference. So then what I would do is I would add the role. Okay. So that's transferring, that's getting a teacher that already has an ID number. If they don't have an ID number, then you need to create an account for them and you need to notify me and let me know so that I can edit that ID number. Barbara, that's an excellent question. She says, do previous employers have to release them before the new employer can get them, like with the students? No. I can go in here and I can create a role without anybody, and I'm not going to do it because then that would email him. You can go in there and create a new role, but what you need to keep in mind is that no matter how many, whatever roles that they have, for instance, if I go to my account here, just to show you, I have 3 different roles. That means I have access to all 3 of these levels. Now, it's not a big deal for me because I have access to everything anyway. However, for a teacher, if the teacher doesn't have their role ended, for example, here, if I didn't have this role ended, I would then still have access to ACA Charlotte. So that's the next thing on my list, is to talk about beginning and ending roles. But let's just clean this up here just a little bit and talk about those ID numbers and make sure that you're clear. So this ID number here is what we're talking about. And I did send out a list, and I'm going to bring that up so I can just refer to that here. You should have gotten this list by email. Come on. Let's see here. It's the previous teacher database. And that is important to you because this is how you can tell if a teacher had a previous ID number. Now, this file might look a little bit different for you. It is a numbers file. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Oh, that didn't work. View. Okay, so with your file, when you get a teacher, you come in and you check in your Excel file that I sent you to see if they had a previous ID number. That's what this list is, okay? This is a previous database. So if they are on this list, then you get their number and you send me an email saying, I just created a new ID for Phyllis Essex, and please edit her ID number to 14533, and then I'll take care of that. Okay? Any questions on editing or on the ID number for your teachers? Okay. So, ending and beginning roles. Something that you need to do that you'll probably be busy with towards the end of the school year or the first month or first couple weeks of summer, supposedly summer, is going through your employees, the ones that you know who have left, going in and ending their roles. And the way that you do that is you search for the teacher, and I'll just use myself as an example. You search for the teacher, and then you go to the end here where it says end, and you can see I hovered over that minus sign and got the pencil, and I'm clicking on that, and I'm going to end the role. So my role ended April 3. I click that, and now you can see the ending role in place. So that means that I have no longer have access to the teacher information in data rollup or anything to do with ACA Charlotte. Okay, so I think you can understand how important that is. Ending the role doesn't necessarily hold up that teacher from being listed in another school, but it does still allow that teacher to have access to the school's information and data rollup. And so that's a privacy issue. So that's a huge job. Well, it's not a big job, but you know what I mean. It's a very important job. All right, any questions on beginning and ending roles? Jane, let me unmute you. Go ahead, Jane.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good.
Did you have a question?
No, I'd answered a while ago that my microphone was black when you were
Oh,
asking it a long time ago.
okay, sorry about that. All right,
That's okay.
I'll mute you then. But yeah, you can raise your hand if you have a question again.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to,
You have an incoming call.
not Skype. Sorry about that. Let's move on to student manager responsibilities. All right, so I'll go up here to the app and I'll move to the student ID. You don't really need to do a whole lot with the student ID database. All that you really need to do is keep an eye on things so that your schools are doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's the only thing I ask you, to keep an eye on the student ID database. And what that means is this. Towards the end of the school year, before the teachers leave or things are wrapped up, but after graduation or whatnot, your schools need to come in and they need to manage their list. So what that means is they click on their list. Well, it would come up when they entered into the student ID, and they will need to go through and either graduate or no longer enroll the students who are transferring out. Now, they can also do this at the beginning of the school year. They can, if they want to start at the end of the school year, that's fine, and move out the kids that have graduated. But it just really needs to be done by the beginning of the school year. I'd say after the first week that school has started. And the reason for that is because this does hold up transfers of students. I had a school call me yesterday and said that they were trying to get their student list taken care of, and there were about 14 transfers that still were pending. They still hadn't been followed through. And when I looked to see where those students were coming from, I looked back at that school and they still had about 270 students in their student list from last year. So they had not gone through and taken care of their list. So at the conference level, and unions, you can do this as well, because I know there's some union people on here. The conference level needs to come in here and click on all of their schools and make sure that the lists have been managed. And you can do this at any time in the year, but it's especially important to do at the beginning of the school year so it's not holding up other schools. So you can see this one is fine. There's 0 students in last year's list. We'll go to and I'm just picking these randomly, by the way. I don't have it out for any of you, trust me. But you should be able to click on every school in your conference and see that last year's students have a 0. You might do us all a favor, and at some point, either today, I know how busy you all are, but at some point soon, you might want to just quickly go through your schools and make sure that there are no students in last year's list. That would be a good thing to make sure that everyone's good to go again for next year. Okay, now what will happen, I don't know, probably the end of July, I would think would be the time, is that all of these students who you see in this year's list, as it comes, all the students listed in schools this year's lists will be set to be in last year's list. Okay, so that around the end of July, first week of August, all of these kids here will go here. All right, any questions on that? So again, the conference's responsibility is to help make sure that all of the schools have managed their list, and that needs to be done at the beginning of the school year. All right, now let's take a look at data roll-up. Data roll-up, I think, is one of the biggest areas that will save time for you guys. Let me just answer a question here. Oh, okay, Barbara wants to know, is there a way to search for a student without being in a school's page? Yes, you should be able to, let me just make sure that we can do that. I'll log out and I'll log back in under a conference user. My internet's being a little annoying today. Okay, I'll log in as a conference. And actually you can do this as the ID manager at the school. If you are, oh, look at that, I belong to the Texas conference. I like that. Okay, and let's just make sure I'm in the right place. And I'm here, say, as a school, and I'm going to transfer or add a new student. That's where you need to work. All right, so you go into transfer and add, and you're searching here. I think we did take away the global search for the student. I know we used to, but if you put the name here, oops, you can see that they pop up down here. Okay, so that's really giving you the global search. So you would need to be in the school that you're needing to transfer, work with the student IDs, and then just go to transfer, add new student, and come up that way. Is there anything that we at the conference level can do with some of our large schools who just won't go in and update their students even after repeated requests? Wow. You know what? Here's my answer for that. I will take your question to the directors because I think they're the ones at this point that need to help kick in with that. That's an excellent question, and I know that there just are schools who don't feel that they need to comply, and I'm going to show you why it's really, really important that they do. And I know that that's not an issue just with student ID numbers, but I know that that's an issue with the student information system, and we'll see how that works. Don't renew their contract. Ah, I love that. Yep. I see that was on the tip of my tongue. Don't pay them. Because to me, if you don't want to play the game the way we're asking, then you should go be in another game. But that's just me. I will definitely take that to Larry and see if we can talk about that at the director level. But let's take a look at data rollup, because that's, to me, this is the coolest thing. In the perfect world, okay, in the perfect world, all of your schools will be on a student information system. That's either RenWeb or iNow or Small School Minder. And because all of your schools are complying in the perfect world, when you click on, and I'm going to come out of here, let's see. I promised I would stay on my own account, and then I didn't listen to my own advice. Let's just go here quickly. And I think some of you have already seen how cool this can be, but we'll take at the conference level, and I'm going to choose, we'll say, Carolina Conference. Well, actually, let's go to a different one. Let's go to Mid-America, and we'll go to Kansas, Nebraska. All right. This is the education directory, and remember, this is the perfect world, and all the schools in this conference are compliant with student information systems. Okay. So because they have all put in their information in their student information, I have my education directory all made for this conference. I have all my schools in here. I have all my teachers, and it's way cool. I didn't have to do anything except for click a button. And that is a huge time saver. For those of you who are responsible in your conferences or unions for putting together the educator directory, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, unfortunately, this isn't a perfect world. And so we see that there are schools who have teachers entered, which is excellent, but there's no contact information, no email or phone number, there's missing information. So in helping with accountability, this is something, again, that you at conference or union level can do. You go into data rollup and you choose your, just click out of that, you choose your union, and then you choose your conference, and you can get your educator directory, and it's as easy as that. So we'll see Southern New England Conference, and we'll download that PDF, and voila, you have an educator directory. Now, right now, any school that is using Small School Minder has their information already in here. Small School Minder data is already rolling up. What you see here needs to happen is that there's some data that's not completed, and that's all comes directly from Small School Minder. So if you see no contact information or a line, that means that in the teacher section in Small School Minder, this information is not entered. Okay? All right, let's see if I have some questions. Will there be a webinar for principals on how to do the student section? Carmen, are you talking about the student ID numbers, or here? Let me unmute you. Go ahead, Carmen. Or hello? Okay, maybe she doesn't have a mic. I can certainly do webinars for principals. I'm happy to do that. If you would like me to do that just for your conference, let me know and we can set that up. Okay. Can you show how the iNow and RenWeb data rollup looks? It actually, Daryl, looks the same way that this does. Okay, we're just getting this. The only reason I said Small School Minder is because I know that all the data for Small School Minder is already rolling up. The difference with RenWeb and iNow, RenWeb believes that the data belongs to the school, and the school needs to request that their data be released to data rollup. and that request gets done through directly to RenWeb. So that's what happens with, sorry about that, with RenWeb and iNow. And I have the information for that, the contact information, so that the principal can directly email that individual and ask for that to be turned on. The same thing with iNow. We are waiting actually for a list of approved or I would say standardized high school classes. If you're familiar with Small Schoolminder, you know that all those classes that are in there look and feel the same way. So we have Bible 1, we have Bible 2. We don't have that quite for 11th and 12th grade. So we are waiting for that, and then iNow will be good to go. Okay. Well, the contact, yes, Amy, the contact information, again, will pull from RenWeb and iNow, and it will just feed right into this format. So any school that is using an approved vendor, as soon as they give with Small Schoolminder, it's happening. With RenWeb, it's as soon as they ask for it. And with iNow, that should be any time as well. And again, they need to just request that. Then that information will come in here and it will look just like this. Okay. The programmers for RenWeb and iNow and Small Schoolminder all worked with the programmers for data rollup, and that information is all hard-coded into the system. So as soon as the data goes in the right fields and it's released, then bingo, it's all in here. So with a click of a button, you get your director, your education directory, and that's amazing, and it goes all the way up. So I can print that education directory at a at a union level, and then the division can print it at the division level. So you think about all those man hours or lady hours that went into putting all those reports together, and you can see how this is an amazing, phenomenal time saver. And the other thing is that if you have an update, like for instance, if I move, which I'm going to do in June, but when I move, all I would need to do is go in and put in my new address, and then it would also appear here as well. Okay, so here is a union education directory, and it's all put together. Okay, by conference, by school. All right, so let's see about some other questions. Academies that don't use Small Schoolminder, that would be, they would use RenWeb or iNow. If they don't use one of those three, then what they need to do is they need to talk with their vendor and ask them to build a bridge, and that's programming time. That might be quite a bit of money, depending on what program they're using. I do know that there are some that are investigating working with PowerSchool, but understand that it's a lot of time. We do have the specs that delineate every single field and what data needs to be in there. It's complicated. It's just complicated, and it could potentially be a lot of money. So the easy answer is to encourage your schools to use either Small Schoolminder or RenWeb or iNow. Is this report or directory taking the place of the one that is sent to the union? I would say yes. Why do things the hard way? As long as all of your schools are on here, then you're good to go. And in fact, you don't even have to send it to the union, because the union can just click on their report and get it. Okay? Can new addresses be input by the conference or the union? No, this data rollup is only output. The information, the data comes directly from the school's student information system. So whether Small Schoolminder or iNow or RenWeb, that's how the information here is put in. Can we change the format of the directory? I noticed that this list has the teachers alphabetically. In a school directory, we usually list the teachers by grade taught. I think that would be possible. I'm not sure if that's, let's see, we are actually doing, let me just show you this. We have an educator list. They are actually going to be merging these two directories, these two reports. And so what you will see is a report that has all the information I showed you before, and also, hello, internet, the grade taught and also the ID number. Okay, so those two reports are going to be merged. Now, if there's something else that you usually have on your directory, let me know. Send that to me in an email, and I'll see if we can get that worked in as well. But remember, these are all standardized, and so what works for one is going to need to work for all of us because we all play the same game. But if you have changes or enhancements, just let me know, and we'll take a look at it. If we would like to edit some of the information because it's incorrect, must we do that in Small Schoolminder? Yep. Sorry, Sandy. Everything is done in the student information system. Okay, so again, it's putting the accountability and the responsibility at the school level where it really should be, with you guys overseeing to make sure that that's, that they're getting it done. We have one school that's listed 2 times on the blue book. How to remove one? Daryl, I'm thinking it's because there's an inactive ID that's going through there. I think I know what you're talking about. How about if you send me an email just to make sure that I remember to take care of that, okay? And I'll look into that. I will tell you that right now in data role in the user manager, there are schools that are listed that are self-supporting schools, or they're closed. We are working with the eAdventist. Each union has been given a list of the schools and asked to verify them so that we can clean up that list. So within the next couple months, I would say that list should be taken care of. And the schools that you see in the user manager and in the student ID listed should be only the ones that are open and are active. I think you probably all understand that right now the way that things work with the eAdventist is that when you have a school that's opening or closing, that information needs to be conveyed to eAdventist because they're the boss of all our organizations. They create those org ID numbers. They're the ones who mark the schools as active or inactive or public or private. And that all directs what happens here. This database here, the user manager, syncs, I believe it's nightly, with eAdventist. So that's how that works. Is there a charge for using Small Schoolminder? Small Schoolminder is one of the best and most inexpensive student information systems available to our schools. It was written specifically for the Seventh-day Adventist schools. It costs $50 a teacher for the year. So a one teacher school, $50. That's pretty awesome. There's no maintenance fee. The NAD provides tech support between either myself or Stacy Gusky at no charge to you guys. And with Stacy, I don't know if you've had any dealings with her, but she has pretty much immediate turnaround. If you have a question and you email her or text her, she has an answer. She'll do in-services for you at a school level, at a conference level, one-on-one. We're just here to help you guys. So with the other ones, with iNow and with RenWeb, granted they are for larger schools, they do cost quite a bit more money, including a monthly maintenance fee. So money is an important part, and again, Small Schoolminder is very economical. All right, we have several schools just putting in their attendance and quarter grades. Do they need to have more information than that? Actually, as long as they have all of the student information filled out and the parent information, because as you can see here, well, let me switch user, do it the right way. Wow. Okay, if I go to be a teacher, oh boy, so many to choose from. How about if I just be a principal and I'll go to Jerry's school, since I can do that faster. Okay, so logged in as a principal, we'll go here to data rollup, and these are all the reports that I can run for this school, and I can get the class record of attendance. So you're saying that some schools just put in attendance, so that's fine there. But the classroom list, you know, you would need to have that information. Let's see what's in there. That's just a list of students in the class, so if you're putting in grades, that should work. Let's see, here's address, okay? So all the information for the student information would need to be filled out, all of the information for the parent, because we also are going to have a report here that says emergency contact list, okay, that a teacher can just print out and take on a field trip with them. That would have the student's name, their parents, the number to contact in an emergency, and the physician's name and phone number. So, you know, that will work as far as, I guess, attendance and quarter grades, but you just need to make sure that everything else is filled in. Does the teacher ID show up in the education directory? Is there a way to remove it? We don't. We can actually decide if we want to have it or not. I think that will be up to the union directors, okay, as far as if they want that on there or not. I found a teacher ID. Oh, I found a teacher ID with an X in front of it when I ran the educator list report. Good question here. Comment. That means that that ID number was made up, and that individual, that school, wanted to get by the required field, and something was going wrong with the teacher ID number, and they made it up or put an X in front of it. So what you need to do is send me an email about that so that we can get that fixed. What they are working into the programming now, which is a huge thing, is they are running cross checks. So what that means is if the report comes in with for the teacher that has a bogus ID number like that one, it's going to run a check over to the teacher ID side. It will be like running out and saying, does that teacher ID really exist in the system? And if not, it's going to give you an error message. Okay, so good detective work there. Let me know, send me an email on that. And again, just know that the system is getting more and more, well, better and better, I should say, as they're running more and more error checks. Okay, let me show you about the opening reports. I'm going to switch users again, I think, if I can do that, and show you how cool it is with the school opening and closing report. Here's a question. Is this replacing the K-12 data program for opening and closing reports? Yes, it is. There's no longer any support for the old K-12 data program, and this is what's taking the place. So you can understand our concern about schools not being accountable and schools not getting into the student information system, because if, for instance, if all of us had schools that were in compliance, except for one conference had maybe one school, then none of our reports are going to be accurate. if I have one school in the Martha Band conference that decided, forget that, I'm not going to spend the money or take the time to use a student information system, I like my paper and pencil just fine. Well, what that means is that the Martha Band conference opening report is going to be wrong. And because that conference opening report is wrong, that union's report will also be wrong. And what that means is the division report will also be wrong. So accuracy and 100% compliance is really, really important. Now, I will tell you that there will be an area where you can import a file at the school level, but it's not going to be easy because they're going to need to enter all of the information that is listed in all of these reports in something like an Excel file. And it will be quite complicated and time consuming. So I will show you, I think most of you probably have seen the letter that went out talking about compliance and deadline dates. I'll show that to you shortly. Okay, so let's just take a look at the opening report. I haven't chosen anyone from North Pacific Union. Let's see, go to Montana and we'll download that. And you can take a look to see how what that looks like. So again, to remind you, or for those of you that have come in a little bit late, this information is coming directly from Small School Minder or RenWeb or iNow. If you don't see schools information on here that are using either iNow or RenWeb, it's most likely because they have not yet requested from those vendors to turn their data stream on. Okay, so here's Montana Conference's opening report. And you can see that it's listed by school. And again, all this information comes from Small School Minder. And this is where you get all your full-time equivalents, okay? All of this information. And how hard was it to put that report together for me? How many hours did it take me? Well, it took me doing this, clicking one button. That's just really cool. And here I can do a school opening summary as a conference. Okay, and here it is, that one report, the summary report. With our little delay with internet speed. And here we go. Here's my school type and size. Here's my enrollment. Here's the residence and gender, religious affiliation, staff gender, and other, and other. Oh, certification. Staff degrees, full-time equivalents, classified personnel. So since I'm here on these two pages, one of the discussions that we had last week with the certification registrars was just about this, was about accuracy. And, you know, how do we make sure that what is here is really what is existing in the school? And how do we know that they did it right? This all comes down to training and making sure that your teachers, that your head teachers and principals really understand how to fill out this information template accurately in Small School Minder or RenWeb and iNow. And I know that, again, Stacy, for those of you who have schools on Small School Minder, we have made videos, I'll show you where those are, that help you with all of these templates on Small School Minder. And with RenWeb and with iNow, we have manuals that both of those vendors have given us to put up online that are the setup guides for custom fields. So I'll show you where that information is. But again, if you're having problems with training and whatnot, just let me know and we'll take care of that. You want a job? I have my first wanting a job in the Martha Band conference. I'm collecting my people. That's good. Are we using this for closing reports for this school year, 2012-2013? I will tell you that while this is not the official report, this would be an excellent thing for you to use to see how your data is showing up and to see what schools are compliant and what schools are not. I have encouraged as many people as I can talk to and who will listen to me and who will read my email that this is the beta testing year. And every school should try and get their data in now so they see if there are errors, if they see if things are having problems, because this is the time where we can fix it much better than next year where we're counting on reports. Okay. Unions can access this so that conferences don't have to turn them in hard copies. That's exactly right. All we have to do is make sure our schools put in accurate information. Bingo. That is the 100% on that quiz question. That is what is really, really good about this, is all the time saving, because all anyone needs to do is, as long as the school has put in their information correctly, then all anyone else needs to do is click a button. Okay. Will schools be able to use this to automatically fill in the correct information on their evaluation forms? Automatically fill in. I don't think I understand the question, Daryl. This is the information that they would use for those. As far as automatically filling in the information, it's not going to transfer over. I think I'm not quite sure. We did put these reports in here specifically at the school level, specifically for the accreditation for the evaluation forms, that and also the e-certification list. So I hope that answered your question. All right, anything else before? Oh, by the way, you also see e-certification up here. I'm not sure if that's going to do an error report on me or not. Let's see. Yeah. So e-certification is still down. I keep hoping, don't I? But anyway, this one right here would print out the e-certification status sheet on the conference educators. So not individual status sheets. So I think I'm probably using the wrong word, but the just the listing of what their certification is and what endorsements they have. All right, any questions on this? All right, so remember, I've given you 2 places where you can go in and look to see if your schools are using the student information system. You can go into the school opening report, or you can also look in the education directory. Now, I will tell you about the opening report is next year, when we're using this for the real report, it will take a snapshot of the data of the report 2 weeks after the first day of school. So for instance, the school opening report date will be different in maybe Atlantic Union conferences than it would be in Southern Union conferences, mainly because school starts at a different time. So the school opening report, again, is going to be calculated, and it will be a snapshot by the 2nd week of school. So if a kid shows up on the 5th week of school, their information, their number will not be counted in the opening report. All right, because the data is not going to continue to roll into that one. Obviously, your school closing report will have all of the current information in there so that you can see the ending enrollments and so on and so forth. Okay. By the way, baptism dates are also pulled from here because that information is put in the student information system. Okay. Here's a question: will pre-K be reported in this new system? The jury's still out on that question, Cindy. That's up to the directors of what happens with pre-K and when. All right, I'm sure it will be coming down the road, but not this year, and I don't believe next year either. The former opening reports asked for data after the 3rd week of school. Oh, why the change? I don't know that answer, Cheryl. I will find out. I think that might have been my fault, and they haven't programmed that. So I make a list to make sure I ask that question. I don't know why I was thinking second week, so third week. Thank you for that. Okay. We're used to opening, after the third week. Sorry, Shelley, or Archie. Master. You're very funny today, Archie. I will get my walking orders from the directors, and I will believe you actually that it's the third week. Okay, let's move on to the dashboard. Go back to the dashboard. Oh, by the way, before I leave yet again, if you can see up here, it says 2012-2013 school year. So I will be able to change, not obviously this year, but next year, I will have the option to change the year. Well, I could now, but I don't believe there's any data in there. So you can see how we're going to be keeping a record, which is also really cool. All right, I'm going to go to the dashboard. And, oh, I have to show you this before I forget, since I have you here. The student IDs, another way that you as a conference and a union can help us is right here with the pending students, which is running an error. Wow. All right, I really need very strong support from conferences to make sure that your schools follow the directions. I guess that's the nicest way I can put it. Follow the directions in adding student ID numbers, because we continue to get duplicate ID attempts. Now, last year, around August and September, we were getting probably 50 to 100 pending students a day. And what that meant is there were attempts to create 50 or 100 duplicate ID numbers, and mainly because people weren't following the directions and searching first before adding. So I'm going to now point you to where all that information is. So we'll go back to the dashboard, and I'll take you to a very, very good resource. We're going to go here to the Files icon. Files icon is not available to non-NAD roles, so that's something that you need to be aware of. If for the people that are working on certification or in public school or self-supporting schools, they do not have access to this information. And the reason for that is not because we're being mean and selfish, but you know how it is when you have students that are non-Adventist that go to our schools, and there often are different structures of tuition rate, because a non-Adventist doesn't have the same sort of subsidy from the conference or from the church that an Adventist kid, a constituent member, does. And that's the same. So there are benefits to being an Adventist, actually, and a constituent church member Adventist in the school system. Well, this is the same way with our TDEC resources, with our subscription resource pricing, with the webinars. These are all things that are available specifically for our NAD teachers. So non-NAD employees don't get access to this, and help us with that. If you have a non-NAD teacher that wants access to the webinars, depending on what they are, then let me know, and I'll see if I can get that resource for them individually on a one-on-one basis. But for the most part, it's closed. It's a closed area. All right, so administrators, if you look here under dashboard, you can see these user guides. This is a conference user guide. I tried to send this out to all of you so that you would have access to this. We are working at making this look a little better. I tried to get this up as quickly as possible. So quickly it's not wanting to download right now. Let's do that. There we go. So at the conference level, these would be the directions and areas that you need to know about in the dashboard. and table of contents. So I've gone over a lot of this, okay? So you might want to take a look at this. You can print it out if you want to. It has all the directions with how to add a new member, how to end a role, about the secure files, about data rollup, student manager. So that's in there, okay? Same thing for a principal, and same thing for the union level, all right? Then here are the two directions, two manuals that I referred to for customized fields. Here's for RenWeb. If you have a school that's a RenWeb user, you need to make sure that they have this, because this guide, user's guide, explains to them what information needs to be put in the different fields, the different places in RenWeb. And this is the same for iNow. Two very important things. So again, if your schools are RenWeb users, they need access to this one. If they are iNow users, they need this one. And I'll go back and label this so it says iNow. This is the letter that I was referring to. This letter was sent out to all the unions, and they were asked to send this to all the conferences and the school administrators. And what this says, it's talking about data rollup, and we're talking about accountability at the local level. And here's what it says: all K-12 schools will be expected to submit data electronically. So we don't want people to go out and create their own blue book. We need them to submit the data electronically. We will be having standardized report cards available through Data Rollup, so that rather than having to pay RenWeb or iNow to run a customized Seventh-day Adventist report card, your schools can go into Data Rollup and just click a button and print out those report cards. And here's this important thing right here. Schools must establish an instructional and grading practice based upon the union standardized report card no later than fall 2013. That's important about that. And then here, talking about student information systems, here are those three that I've been referring to over and over again: RenWeb, Small School Minder, and iNow. And then here is the compliancy thing. It is our preference you select a SIS or student information system from this list of three providers. If, however, you elect to use a provider not on our preferred list, it is your responsibility to contact your local union to explore any options available to ensure you can be compliant. The compliancy deadline, once again, is fall term 2013 to 2014 school year. Okay, and then this goes on. I won't read the whole thing to you, but you can see how this is just a real big deal. All right. Will those report cards be archived? So if you want to look at past year's report card, it would be available. What you would do is you would go back to the data roll-up and you would change the year. I think I have it open. No. You would just change the year up there and then run your report card. Okay? So you just go here, go back to where you needed to go, and then choose the report. Okay? Let's go back here. I'll show you some other things. So again, this is the support information on the dashboard. You can see here are some other things. Here's information about Griggs. By the way, well, you should check this out. I won't do a commercial for my other part of my job, but I will tell you that you should check that out. Here's the math curriculum, all kinds of information here. Then I'm going to take you over to the TDEC resources. It's in the same area here in the files. And here's the information for Encyclopedia Britannica with how to sign up and get School Britannica. All that information is there. Here's all the information about Learn 360. Here are the two webinars that we ran. Learn 360 101 for administrators. If you missed that, you can look at this right here. Here's another one about user login, and here's one 101 for teachers. There's the quick start guide, for teachers, and here it is for administrators. We also down here have all the Small School Minder tutorial videos. So when I was referring back to in data rollup with how to know if, with the schools, this part right here with the opening report and helping principals, head teachers to know how to fill this out, well, you can refer them to the video that's right here, setting up your new school year. These videos are all done by Stacy Gusky. She knows her stuff about Small School Minder inside and out. And you can have your teachers watch this. They can have it on their iPad or have it somewhere and do things step by step. Start the video, pause it, do what they need to do and whatnot. They're all excellent. And if you push your principals, head teachers using Small School Minder to this for training, then that's most likely 100% chance that their data is going to be accurate in data rollup. Okay. Here's the information about Visual Thesaurus with how to set up an account as well. All right. And then I'll take you over to the TDEC webinars. And just so that you can know for your teachers, here are all the webinar archives, including the one from last night, which was excellent, by the way. Jarrell Gilkison and Betty Bayer did an awesome job, along with their help from other teachers. And this webinar went about 2 hours, almost 2 hours. And that is right here. And then the PowerPoint is right above it. Okay, they're alphabetical. The webinars go all the way back, by the way, as you can see, to 2008. Now, any questions on this before I move to my last topic? I hope I didn't put you all to sleep. Okay. Oh, wait. I've been unable to access Evaluation Self-Study Report on the Educator's Toolbox page. Okay. Yeah, Sandy, the problem in all of you, the situation we're having is they're in the works of moving the website over. So we're going from nadeducation.org to adventisteducation.org, and they're still working on moving the content over. And they're also working on upgrading those forms. So I think that you'll find that eventually, yes, those will be there. If you need it quicker than the eventually, just send me an email and I'll get that report for you, okay, and take care of that. If you haven't been to the brand new website, you ought to take some time. I know none of us have extra time, but this is something that you really need to make your good friend, because there are so many resources on here. The curriculum has been divided into early childhood. By the way, this kid is so cute. But early childhood, elementary, with all the standards and all these resources for elementary, and then secondary. So this is a place you can point your teachers to. We're trying to drive everyone to the website so that there's a one-stop shop for everything. Anyway, report cards, all our microsites for kindergarten, for math, pathways, science, the REACH one, everything is here. All right. So take some time and check this out. And now I'm going to show you what I know the world has been waiting for, because it will make your life so much easier, and you will all be my friends again and not be mad at me, I hope, because of this area right here, subscription resources. It was such well, we won't talk about the stress of the subscription resources, but here's what's happening now. We have gone storefront. And so what that means is this. Orders are taken with credit card payment only through the web-based storefront. Okay? So guys, no school is going to be sending you their order form, and you're not going to have to count up money and ask your Treasury Department for a check to send to the union, and the unions won't have to go through all that stuff. So now I hope I'm all your best friend, And you can send flowers and chocolate to my home address. Well, maybe not chocolate, but flowers are good. Let me show you what that means. Here's our storefront, and this information is coming. The storefront won't be open until May 1, but here's what they will do. They will click on the link that will be back here. There will be a link that says, it will be right over here actually, because it says follow the ordering instructions on the right, which is Ellen White giving us ordering instructions. But they will be there, and they'll click there and it will take them here. Okay, so this is our store, and they click if they want to order Brain Pop, and they choose their access. They choose if they're renewing or not. If they're renewing, they put their username and their password, and then they add to cart. So let me just show you. We'll do 24-hour access. Say I'm not going to answer that. And so I add to cart, and look, I have to choose one or the other. So I'll say, no, it's not a renewal. And then I add to cart. When I get to the cart, that's where I put in my quantity. Okay? And then it's going to generate what I owe. Now, then I can go back to the catalog and choose something else. This is something that I want you to all take a look at. The reading solution. Reading solution, maybe you knew about it before, but I sure didn't. Reading solution is reading A to Z, Raz Kids, and vocabulary A to Z all together for the one price of $119.95. I talked to Elise last night or yesterday, and she said that we have the absolute best pricing for their resources that exists. And you know what, guys? That's because of all of you, because you've helped us to all work as a team. And because we had a team effort, we had that buying power, and we could take this to the next level. I need to take this science. We need to take science A to Z out because that's not part of the solution. But anyway, you can see how that works. They're all here, okay? And again, this is the school does this. You don't have to worry about it at all. Your biggest challenge, mine too, is getting the information out. You can see at the bottom, make that big, go down here. They can pay by Discover, by Visa, by MasterCard, or PayPal. All right? No American Express, no check or cash, only these 4 ways. And I think it will be really, really, really awesome. The thing I need to let you know about Learn 360, by the way, this is the one that's going to be kind of tricky, because you should know that the schools can pay $2 a student a year if they order really through the conference or the union. I know that there are some conferences who are paying for this for their schools. So what that would mean is you would need to do your little order thingy within your conference, and then maybe the conference pay with a credit card. I don't know. That's the only thing that's a little tricky. Brain Pop is also a little tricky because that's only available year to year. So we're still going to have to play around with the renewal people in January, okay? But I think that's a pretty good trade-off for being able to do all of this. So let me see if I have any questions here. I'm glad I've made you happy. That was one of the most stressful things, guys, because I knew that it was hard for you. But I also am really, 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 really adamant at making things easier for teachers and cheaper. I did that for 26 years, trying to scrounge for money. So that's that. Now let me just show you on here. When they click on the individual site, there's a description, and there's also the web page where the teacher can go and take a look. Also, that same information is over here in the Adventist Education webpage under technology related subscriptions. Okay, so let's see. The individual schools order this, and if the conference is going to subsidize, that's what I said is the tricky part. I don't know if the conference wants to order and pay and then charge the school. or how you want to handle that. But I guess that would be an individual conference decision. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let me just show you one thing. I'm going to show you Learn 360 and tell you that at the end of June, any accounts in Learn 360 are going to be wiped out because we are in the free, well, it's not free. We are in the, this is your gift from the North American Division Education Office period of time. And that will expire the end of June. And so if you want to renew, that would be that your school, yeah, that's not going to work that way with a renewal. So never mind that. But what that means is that any teacher that says, oh, well, I already have that, well, they won't at the end of June. And you'll need to have them come back in here and order. All right. Okay, a question. Will there be a document with instructions that could be shared with schools? Yes. I will be happy to make sure that that happens. And then you guys will help me to get that out. Okay? And I know we will. This is, I think this is really incredible how we've all been able to pull together and get rock bottom pricing. And I will also tell you, this is a really good way to witness to our vendors. They have been amazed at the high level of professionalism that our teachers have. And it's been a really good thing. Okay, I'm tired of talking, and I know you all have things to do. So unless you have any other questions, I think that we'll all, some of you get to go to lunch, others of you get to just keep working. And just holler, guys. If you have any ideas, any suggestions, if you have any questions, just send me an email and we'll get right on it. Okay? All right. Have a great afternoon. Talk to you later.